Hello friends, welcome back to VFX Pipeline channel, and we will continue with our REST API series. And now we are done from your Django side. So Django side, the REST API is almost ready, and we will keep modify and change according to our need. That's fine, that's an ongoing process, but so far to start with we are okay. So now let's just move further and create a client to access the REST API, Django REST API. Okay, I just created a new project here, and here I install request library, so which is pip install request. You just run that and it will install whatever the latest version you have, and that's fine. Clear buffer. Okay, so this project is new. Let's just go create a new Python file here, and let's just name it client. That's it, client.py. Okay, so now we have an empty file here. To use request, what you have to do is you have to import request. That's it. So now your library is already imported, and since we have this URL here, if we run and we will see this data here, we need to see this data inside our client. So take this URL first, and this is our URL. Okay, and select. So we have a variable called URL here, and now let's just go and make a get request. So try to get the list of all the users. So response request dot get, and you need to provide the URL, and then request dot text response dot text. Let's just print this. Print response dot text. We want to see what's going on with this URL. That's it. Let's just execute this. Perfect, that's what we are supposed to see, because the authentication credential were not provided. How you are supposed to see the data if you are not providing the username and password? Let's just log out from here, and now let's just try to access this. See, this is actually this message which showing you that hey, you need to provide your authentication credential. Perfectly fine. So now before we get to this point, we need to get something. I mean, we need to provide some authentication, correct? Okay. How we can provide that? Before we go further with request, we need to add one more URL inside our Django, which actually we missed previously. Actually, we did not miss. Actually, this is the real time where I can show you how that is connected with this. So that's why let's just go and open our Django project, which is Django project. Okay, here we have the Django project. Let's just go to your project and first open the url.py, because we are going to create a URL and also api.py. Okay, so inside your api.py, all you have to do, you need to import from REST framework auth token view. You need to import obtain authentication token auth token, and also from model you need to import token, because we will provide username and password, and in return we want to see the token. That's what we want, correct? Okay, and the class which we are going to write here, which will be this. So this is the class for user authentication, and here you can see that basically in this class we are providing username and password, and it will return a user token key. Okay, and what is token key? If you go to the database and you see auth token, there is a table here, and if you see here, for every user, if you can see this, for every user ID 1, this is the token key. If you have many other users, for every user there will be a separate key. So if you know this key, then you are able to access the data. So that's why you need to secure that also. Okay, now let's just go and add the URL, and the URL should be authentication URL, we need to import this class also. So user authentication, and we are good to go. And this user authentication class actually don't have any get, this only have post. So if you try to access this from a URL, you will receive get is not allowed because there is no get method in this user authentication. You only have post, so you can post data and you will see. Now let's just go back to our client. Where is our client? Okay, so this is our client right now, but even at this moment we can't get the data with this. So let's just comment this. So first thing is we need authentication token. So get okay, to get auth token, our URL is this. Perfect. And then all we have to do is we need to say hey response, then request dot post URL, and with this URL we need to provide data, and inside this data you need to provide username, and in my case the username was Rajiv, and you need to provide, sorry, what's going on here, and we need to provide password, and in our case the password was VFX pipeline. Okay, so here we can see that to get the token, this is our URL to get the token because we just created that, and this is the post. And now let's just go to print response dot text. Let's run this. Perfect. So now here we are going to get the token of this username and password, and if you have this token, then you can actually move further and get the, I mean, you can get the data from the API. Okay, now let's just make modules for that. So let's just create a function, and this will be our get token. Okay, and in this get token, basically the URL will be always same, and username and password, this is fine, and just return. Instead of returning this as a text, I would recommend return as a JSON. Sorry, maybe you can just for now, because this is a string, yeah, you can use just text. Sorry, we need to execute this get token, run. So we see this is a token in a string, and let's try JSON. Yes, so I would recommend just use JSON here, that will be safe. So return this. Okay, perfectly fine. Now with that method we are going to get the token, but now let's just move further and create, I mean get the data. So in now if we want to get the data, in our case we want to get the user list, since we know how to get the token, correct? Okay, so then use token dot get token, and here there is basically 2-3 things that you need to see. One is basically first of all you are getting token, and but how you actually provide this token to the server. I mean, how your server will actually know that this is the token that you have. For that, you basically needs to create a authentication header. So for example, header example will be like this. You need to say, hey, this is and this will be a I mean, this will be a kind of a object like this, and here you need to say, so a authorization, and here we need to say token, and let's just create this as a string. So here we will use our get token directly here, so we no need to even create this. So this header is required whenever you want to get some data, so always you need to pass the header. So right now we have the authentication token, and let's just pass this to headers, and just to make sure that we are getting the same result, let's just type get data, run this again. Okay, we are supposed to see here because we haven't provided the header yet. Let's just go and provide header, and this is not just header, it is actually headers, and then you can provide header, right? Let's just go and run this again. Voila, what we are seeing here is all the data which exists inside our database. Correct. So now in Python you are able to access this, and this is in list format because we have multiple information here, so that's why we have as a list. But still I would recommend just go and instead of text use this as a JSON, and since this is JSON, then what we can use is our, so this is our employee data, and you can go through a for loop for each in employee data and run it. So now let's just go back here, log in again. So this is the user list which you have on the server, and this is the web view of that user list, and here you can see that using authentication token and headers, how you can get this same data inside your Python using request library. So it's very easy, very cool, and it's very useful. I mean, you can just straightforward go ahead and implement this inside your own application using this same technique. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of things that actually we should cover. For example, we can create an interface where we can get the input from user for username and password, so we no need to hard code this value here. And also we can make a standard URLs on top, so basically if you want to change the URL you can use something else. For example, I will give you an example here because that's what we are doing here. Let's do this, and this will be a f string, and this will be our main URL, and this will be this. So correct. So now here I want to call this URL, and the same goes to this. Use f and URL. So with that, now what you can do is actually, if you have some different IP address, you can just change it here, and all your APIs, all your functions, request functions, no need to update manually, right? So this is what we are achieved so far. This is the way we actually get the data. Now in my next video, I will show you how you can post data using request. So I will see you in my next video.